What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC San Antonio. We have Marlon Vera going against Cory Sandhagen. And yeah, 13 fights in the card. Should be a very good card. It should be a very violent card. As always, I am here with Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to UFC San Antonio?
You know, I didn't think I was going to be looking forward to this card as much as I am, because we've been on an 8-week stretch of straight UFC events. And as a content creator, that's a real nutcracker, every Saturday, you want to just kind of like take the night off and realize how much fun you had and not have to prepare for Stat Diggers the next day. But we've got to be on point, Brady, every damn week. Right after the previous event is over, we got to get ready for tonight's show. And it's something that, wears on you after 8 straight weeks. But so you're looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel to that week off. And sometimes, that last card is a little bit of a chore, but not this one, man. This is a violent card. It's going to be in San Antonio. We're going to have another live crowd. We got a lot of local fighters on the card, a lot of Mexican fighters. It's going to be fun. A lot of these fights, I think, are going to finish inside the distance, and I think that we're going to see some really fun fights on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you, with the chat, everybody on Pub Sports Radio. I'm ready to talk about this card.
Agreed. It's one of those fight cards where probably not the best name value in the world, but I think these fights are going to play out fun stylistically. So looking forward to that. Before we get into it, crazy card last night. Lots of wild decisions, lots of wild outcomes. How'd you make it out, Weezy? It was a pretty tough card from a betting perspective, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't make out great. I was down 1.65 units. I'm kind of happy that I didn't get caught in any of those tricky decisions, because when you win, when you lose, it's gambling. But like when you feel like you're getting units taken out of your pocket by incompetent judging, by bad reffing, it hurts 10 times more. And I was able to avoid that. My big losses were the over 1.5 rounds in the Nelson Barber fight. I just needed Barber to last another 9 seconds there at the end of the first round. And I felt like I would have a really good chance for that one to go over, but it didn't happen. Gunnar Nelson, what a fantastic grappler he is. And then I lost 2 units on the fight doesn't go to decision for Juliana Miller versus Veronica Hardy. I really thought that fight was going to finish inside the distance, but had some, and I also lost a quarter unit on Laron Murphy by KO at plus 400. But the winning bets were Justin Gaethje versus Fiziev over 1.5 rounds, 1.5 units at minus 150. And then I also had the over 1.5 rounds for Jack Shore versus Makwan Amirkhani. That one cashed beautifully. That was like minus 120 for 2.4 units. So down 1.65 units. But man, we got to talk about the judging, Brady. I thought that at worst, the Usman-Edwards fight should have been a draw. I was really perplexed by a couple of those scorecards. Who the hell was that judge? What the hell was his name? The guy that had Vittori 30-27, the guy that had Omar Morales 30-27, same guy had a 10-8 in round 3 for Justin Gaethje? Are you fucking kidding me? What happened there, dude? What? How are these guys not getting marched out of the arena in handcuffs, man? Talk to me.
I think his name was Paul Sutherland.
Paul Sutherland. Shame on you. Get some help, Paul Sutherland.
Dude, just wild scorecards. How do you score the third round at 10-8 for Justin Gaethje? And like, in what world was that a 10-8 round?
It wasn't a 10-8 round. I mean, in no world is that a 10-8 round. And it just goes to show you, like, some of these people that they're bringing in, are they doing background checks? There was a guy the last time we were in London, I think. Martian and Ozzy brought this up on their podcast. An actual rocket scientist was brought in to judge fights, right? And he had Roxanne Modafferi beating Casey O'Neill, right? In Roxanne's retirement fight. This guy had put like 2 or 3 crazy scorecards together that made no sense. And then he winds up getting busted for child porn, literally a little bit after this event. I mean, like, where, Brady, where are they finding these judges? Are they going to the gutters of Los Angeles? Are they going to Skid Row grabbing people out of tents and saying, hey, pal, you want to judge fights? What the hell is going on here?
I don't know, man. I mean, those were probably like the worst scorecards I've ever seen as a whole. Um, and we're in Texas. I mean, typically these scorecards are pretty bad in Texas, so we'll have to see. But I don't think anything's going to beat what happened last night.
I mean, it was crazy. It was really crazy, and we got to talk, about what we're going to do about this judging. It's absolutely bonkers. But I hope everybody had a great night, fun night of fights. But just the controversy. It makes it so depressing when we have that controversy, when we can all kind of agree that certain things happened and then it comes out the other way. It's really, really, it pisses me off sometimes. But hey, it is what it is. That's the sport that we're betting on, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Yep, for sure. I thought the card was all right. For me, finished up 0.96 units on the losses. I had a unit on that Macedo Miller fight doesn't go. A unit on the Murphy Santos fight doesn't go. Quarter unit on the Murphy KO. I had a quarter unit on Shore round 3 plus 850. I had 1.5 on the Gaethje Fiziev fight ending by knockout, and then a lost unit on the Morales Duncan fight doesn't go. The wins, I had the Shore Macwan over 1.5. That was good. I had Shore round 2, quarter unit sprinkle plus 460. That was nice. My biggest play of the night was Usman Edwards over 1.5 parlay with Jake Hadley. And then I had Hadley inside the distance for 1.5 units. So a lot of my night came down to Jake Hadley getting the job done. Had a unit on the Patterson Ashmos under 2.5, minus 130, probably the easiest cash of the night. Ashmos went out there and killed Sam Patterson just about. Brutal knockout. And then I had Gunnar Nelson winning by submission, half a unit plus 115. Definitely made up for not subbing Takashi for no reason whatsoever. So yeah, small profit. But yeah, I thought it was kind of a tough card overall. So kind of happy to make it out alive on that one. But we have this fight card to talk about, Weezy. We have UFC San Antonio. And I say we dig right into it. And let us dig right into the first fight of the card. We have Haley Cohen going against Tamaris Vidal. We got Cohen, who is 31 years old, 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. Tamaris Vidal, 24 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. We have Vidal, who's going to be 7 years younger. It's going to be Cohen with a 2-inch height advantage, and then Vidal is going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Cohen was supposed to make her debut. I think it was against Eileen Perez, right?
Yep.
Against Eileen Perez. Do you know who? I think it was Cohen that pulled out.
Yeah, Cohen pulled out, and now Cohen's getting another fight while Eileen Perez has to sit on the sidelines. Kind of strange, but that's the way it goes. Cohen's a hometown girl, a Texas girl, so they probably wanted to get her on this card.
So that makes a little bit more sense then. But yeah, so she had to pull out of that fight. And then Vidal, she made her debut against Ramona Pascual. And what I thought was probably one of the biggest 100 gambler fights of the century. And she went in there and knocked out Ramona Pascual in the very first round. So yeah, we see some weird line movement on this one right off the bat. Tamaris Vidal was like a massive favorite last night. And then now all of a sudden, Haley Cohen is the favorite. She's now minus 130. So this line completely flipped and looks like money's still coming in on Cohen as we speak.
Yeah, it is. I looked at this fight shortly after the line dropped, and I saw Cohen at plus 165, and I was like, wait, what? Why is she plus 165 against Tamaris Vidal? And then I looked at the line, and I saw that I just missed like plus 200. And I was like, whoa, what happened here? How did they open that line there? Because, I mean, when you watch the film on Tamaris Vidal, she's young. She's getting better. She's got good size for the division, but she's not good. I mean, you watch the tape and you're like, I'm not entirely sure what Tamaris Vidal is actually good at here. And with Haley Cohen, you've got somebody that's very athletic, a 2-time All-American gymnast, tumbler, fitness competitions. This girl is an athlete. She's got that athletic build. She's long, she's lean, she's strong, like ridiculously strong, gymnast strong. And both of these ladies engage in a lot of cage pushing. They're going to try to win minutes in the clinch up against the cage. And while Tamaris is strong, she's got a strong lower half. If you look at the comparison in the body types between the two, I mean, you really see an advantage there for Cohen. She's going to be taller. She's going to be longer. and her kicks get up to the head fast. She's very dexterous. She's very strong. And Tamiris, I mean, I don't know what Tamiris is really that good at, but you don't necessarily have to be that great in the women's bantamweight division to string together a few wins. And it's exactly what she did. She went out there against Ramona Pasquale, who's pretty terrible, Brady. I mean, if we're going to be honest with each other there, but you don't see a flying knee to the liver knockout every day, do you? And she absolutely landed that thing beautifully, right on the money. Tyone stepped in to stop that fight, and he did a hell of a job because she was hurt. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun fight. But, I mean, I just think that Haley Cohen's the A side here because she's just the more athletic fighter. And I think that where both of these ladies look to win minutes, I've seen Haley Cohen just do a much better job of, winning minutes in the clinch. And I feel she's more equipped to win minutes in the clinch than Tamiris Vidal when I just look at their body types. So I'm going with Haley Cohen by decision here, going with the hometown girl in front of her Texas crowd. Should be a fun way to start off the card.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about fun, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a fight. Yeah, I wouldn't have mind, man. If I wish I would have researched this fight a little bit sooner. That Cohen, she was sitting at plus 195. Like, what sense does that make? And she was sitting there for like over 24 hours at plus 195. So yeah, kind of wish I would have saw that. I mean, I've had a really busy week last week though. With the 15 fight cards, so I wasn't able to, get ahead. But man, yeah, would have loved Cohen, obviously, a plus 195. So shout out to everybody that got that Cohen, like plus 210 even she was at some point, plus 207. And now she's sitting at minus 135. Like I said, money keeps coming in on Haley Cohen. Yeah, I remember taping Tamiris Vidal for that Ramona Pasquale fight. And Ramona Pasquale was like bottom of the barrel. And I actually remember picking Ramona Pasquale. So that just goes to show you how unimpressed I was with Tamiris Vidal on her tape. I will say she did look a lot better, than she had looked in her previous fights. So she's only 24. So she should be making improvements. I mean, you can't get any worse than what you see outside the UFC. So, but yeah, this should be Cohen probably as the favorite at this point. So yeah, I have no interest in betting this fight. I was thinking maybe like an under just because both of these fighters have been finishing all their losses, 3 combined losses inside the distance for the 2. But outside of that, I think I'm definitely going to pass now at this point. But yeah, if you got it on Cohen, plus 190, plus 200, you did your job and a lot more as well. I mean, that's a phenomenal line.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, any women's favorite, that's juiced is a risky play to begin with. I mean, we just saw that last weekend. Casey O'Neill, big favorite, loses. Joanne Wood, minus 180 favorite, wins a split decision. And then Juliana Miller, minus 450, goes out there and gets 30-27 by the plus 350 Veronica Hardy, who we haven't seen in 3 years. So, yeah, laying juice on women's MMA is always tricky. But if you got in at Haley Cohen plus 195, congratulations. But at this point, I kind of feel like the line's where it should be, and I'll be staying away.
Yeah, and I agree with SSP, David. I mean, don't feel bad you missed the line.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Bad.
You're probably right. 1-800 gambler,
Yeah. What's up, Tim? How you doing?
Hey, Tim, yes.
What size
should
is
be
the
big cage?
Should be the big cage.
Yeah, should be the big cage. Whenever they're on the road, we assume big cage.
Yep, for sure. Big cage. All right. Let's move on to the next fight. We have this should be a fun one. Victor Altamirano going against Vinicius Salvador. We get Altamirano, 32 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Salvador, 26 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. So Salvador is 6 years younger. It's going to be Altamirano with a 1-inch height advantage, same reach there at 70 inches. Victor Altamirano, he had that split decision win against Carlos Candelario on the Contender Series. He lost a decision to Carlos Hernandez in a very close fight, and then he knocked out Daniel Lacerda in the very first round. Vinicius Salvador, yeah, I remember doing Dana White's Contender Series content, taping this fight, and I was very unimpressed with Salvador. And then he shows up. It was like after like a 2-year layoff. He was coming in on short notice, and this dude Salvador comes in looking like a completely different fighter than the fights I watched, prior to that Shannon Ross fight. Like he looked much, much better in that Shannon Ross fight than he had in the past, and it was on short notice as well. So, and he's only 26. So, yes, he's going to be making a lot of improvements, and we saw that on his Contender Series fight, and he went out there and destroyed Shannon Ross and knocked him down multiple times, showing he has power. So FanDuel Sportsbook made a big mistake. What was it? Was it Thursday or Friday? For some reason, FanDuel opened up all the over-unders, and they set them all at 2.5 at -112 apiece. And this is one where I wish I would have looked into it a little bit more, a little bit earlier, because I would have been on the under 2.5 rounds, just because of the way Salvador fights. But I know a lot of people that got on that under 2.5 in the Salvador fight at -112. I think that was a great look. But yeah, Salvador's a guy that typically does not go the distance. I think he's been to the distance like once in like 18 fights. So this is going to be a very, very fun fight. It's probably going to be a car crash just because that's how Salvador fights each and every time. And it's going to be a lot, Altamirano, it's going to be a lot like his last fight with Daniel Lacerda, because Lacerda fights like a car crash every single time. So he's going to be able to see this before. But yeah, this should be a very fun fight for as long as it lasts, Weezy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like with Vinicius Salvador, you got a guy who's got 18 professional fights, and he hasn't even hit his 100th minute in the cage yet, which means that he's got an average fight time of 5.53 minutes, 100% finish rate in his wins, 13 of them by knockout, and the other one is by submission. And then he's been knocked out in 2 of 4 losses and been submitted in 1 of 4. So, 17 of his 18 fights finishing inside the distance as a professional. And with El Magnifico, Altamirano, you got a guy who's pretty good everywhere, man. He's got a traditional martial arts striking style, very karate style, in and out. He darts in and out, throws big body kicks, straight 1-2s down the pipe, and then he moves his head pretty well and gets in and out of range pretty well. So he's definitely a guy who's pretty good everywhere, as he loves to grapple as well. We see that Altamirano spends about 75% of his time at striking range, but he's winning 70% of the control time positions that he's in as well. And that's pretty impressive because he's been taken down twice while only getting 1 takedown. And he's attempted 4 takedowns, has Altamirano, but his opponents have attempted 9. So, even though Altamirano's opponents have been more grapple heavy, he's out-controlling his opponents at a 2.38-to-1 ratio. So impressive stuff. And Altamirano's been fighting on the regional scene in LFA since the beginning of his career. But Salvador's a wild man. He's a difficult dude to deal with. And we saw a similar opponent in Daniel Lacerda last time for Altamirano. And what happened? Lacerda goes out there and drops this dude, lands a big shot, gets on top of him. But then, Altamirano winds up getting top control of his own and really starts landing some big shots there. Finished with ground and pound, with some really vicious ground and pound. And he was doing a good job of defending against the submissions that Lacerda was throwing up from his back. So I feel like Altamirano, we've seen him face a similar type of opponent in Salvador when he faced Daniel Lacerda, and he handled it well. He shows that he's got a chin. He can recover after being hurt. And if somebody does get sloppy, that he can find his way back into a fight after maybe losing a moment early in it. So I think that that's a good thing for Altamirano here, because for Salvador, the last loss came to Jafel Filio on the regional scene. And then the wins are against Leonardo Gabriel da Silva, Tarcisio Gomez, Wallace Vampirino, who I guess is a vampire who trains with Sergey Spivak, and then Shannon Ross on the Contender Series. And, the Shannon Ross win just doesn't tell me much, Brady. I wasn't impressed with Shannon Ross, a guy that can go out there and take an ass whooping, for longer than most other people could take an ass whooping, for, is not the best opponent to have the measuring stick against. So I'm kind of leaning towards the El Magnifico side here in Victor Altamirano.
Yeah, I'm leaning violent. And yeah, shout out to Tim. Tim said he got on that under 2.5 at -112. I'm going to be looking at under 2.5 rounds as well. This Salvador dude, he has a lot of fights. How many is it, like 18 fights? 17 of them have finished under 2.5 rounds. So all but 1 have finished under 2.5.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I could even look at my prop template and tell you like how many that have actually finished under. Yeah, it's 15 out of 16, dude, and 14 of his 16 fights haven't even started round 3. So this guy's only seen round 3 twice in his career.
Yep.
So yeah, dude, violence in this spot is definitely a good look.
Yep. No, I agree. I'm going to be attacking it from a violence perspective for sure. Won't get that minus 112, but hopefully something close to around there. This is the closest line fight on the card, Weezy. We have Alt Morano, who is currently sitting at minus 106. We have Salvador currently sitting at minus 114 and opened up about a pick 'em here, and it makes sense. There's still a lot of like question marks with this Salvador guy. I'm not sure if he's either very good, Weezy, or if he just fought Shannon Ross. Like that's kind of what's tricking me here.
Yeah, but he did. I mean, that they do, what you can only ask of somebody is that they do what they're supposed to do if they fight an opponent like Shannon Ross. And man, I mean, dude, Salvador kicked his ass, man, like 9 ways from Sunday. So yeah, I can't wait for this fight, dude. This is going to be like a car crash, like you said, man. And violence is a very good look in this spot. Where is it right now? The under 2.5.
It's 1.5. And
oh yeah, of course it is.
But it's plus 160 though.
Ooh. Let's go back to that prop template, Brady. Under 1.5 rounds, Vinicius Salvador, 10 of 16. But it's like when you go to fight doesn't start round 3, it's 14 of 16. So he's actually had 4 of his 16 fights end in the second half of round 2. So he's not like this guy that's like getting people out of there in round 1, like somebody that we're going to talk about in the very next fight, actually, Loco Torres. But this is a hell of a fight. Not as fun as Cohen Vidal, but it's going to be a fun fight, Brady. You mark my words on that.
I'll mark it down, Weezy. The Vic saying the fight doesn't go as minus 145. That's ridiculous.
Oh, I love that. I love 5 times, you magnificent bastards. You just spoil the gamblers who are lucky enough to have an account there.
Yeah, that is wild. So maybe we'll get minus 145 for the fight as it go, because I will be on that for a couple of units, but probably won't have access to that. Yeah, let's move on, Weezy. Another fun fight, because it is a Manuel Torres fight, and every single one of Torres's fights are very fun, and they don't last long at all. He's going against Trey Ogden. We got Torres, 27 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Ogden, 33 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. It's going to be Torres 6 years younger, with a 1-inch height disadvantage, but he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Torres is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Frank Camacho. I believe Torres was your ass shaving of the week that week as well. Anyone out there and shaved the ass of Frank Camacho, I think putting Camacho into retirement, if I'm not mistaken. Trey Ogden is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Jordan Levitt, somehow lost a striking fight against Jordan Levitt. That was interesting. And then he somehow beats Daniel Zellhuber in a striking fight. That was also very interesting. That one got me. I remember being super high on Zellhuber. So yeah, Trey Ogden got me in that one. So this was another one that opened up on FanDuel towards that under 2.5 minus 112. I actually was able to get on this one because I do remember Manuel Torres, and I remember that he's a freaking wild man. He's been out of the first round 1 time. So I put 1.5 units on that under 2.5 rounds. And yeah, I think this is going to be like the last fight, Weezy, just an absolute car crash of a fight. So both guys are solid finishers, especially Torres. Both guys can be finished. Ogden's been finished a ton by submission. I think this fight is going to be one of the more exciting fights on the card.
How could it not be? Because Manuel El Loco Torres is going to be in the cage. And whenever this guy is in the cage, you automatically get a fun fight. This guy is really, really fun to watch. He's huge for the division. I think he's lying about his height, Brady. It says 5'10". I'd be surprised if he was, because Torres is listed at 5'10", Ogden's listed at 5'11", but I'd be surprised if Torres wasn't actually taller than Trey Ogden here. He's a very, very big lightweight. And he fights like he's on bath salts, man. He goes out there and absolutely throws bombs. And when it's really hard to find footage on this guy, unfortunately, but if you dig a little bit deeper, you see that he's putting it together. He can wrestle a little bit. When people try to wrestle him, he's good at defending with his guillotine chokes. He's very long, and he strikes very long, and he throws with purpose on the feet. But we're missing some information. This guy's only been out of the first round once. once in 15 fights, only out of the first round once. So do you really want to lay minus 200 on a guy in El Loco Torres who we don't really know what this guy's going to look like outside of that first round? It looks like the conditioning is there. It looks like he's well-rounded. It doesn't look like he's got massive weak spots in his game other than the fact that he's just not particularly technical. He's not like a technical guy on the feet, but it doesn't matter when you're that tall and that long and throwing with such bad intentions because you can just spark dudes. It's good enough. And sometimes, the less technical you are, the more likely you are going to spark a dude when you land a big shot because people don't see it coming. So, and then with Ogden on the other side, you've got a guy who's pretty good at winning minutes. Trey Ogden's 5-2 in his career in winning decisions. And then he's also finished a lot of fights. 68.75% of his 16 wins have come by submission. He's never knocked anyone out, though. But he can win some minutes at striking range, as we saw in the Zellhuber fight. So, yeah, I picked Manuel Torres to shave Frank Camacho's ass, and that came through. But on the other side, I picked Daniel Zellhuber to shave Trey Ogden's ass, and like a lot of people, got clipped on that one pretty bad, man. That busted a parlay for me. I was really surprised that Trey was able to win minutes at range against somebody like Zellhuber. But, man, I watched that fight back today, and, man, Zellhuber just didn't even show up. He wasn't there. He wasn't there that night. When you watch the tape on Zellhuber, the guy's dynamic. He goes first, and he throws like this great variety. He uses his length well. He went in there and he froze. I mean, it was really tough to watch. So I don't know if we learned much from that fight from Ogden. Ogden is solid everywhere, Brady. I mean, when you watch the tape on him, the striking looks good. It looks technical. He will go out there and wrestle. And when he goes out there and he wrestles, dude, and he gets fights to the ground, he's aggressive. He's going to look to pass your guard. He's gonna look to submit you. He's gonna look to get to your back. So he's a very functional mixed martial artist, but he's 33 years of age. 21 fights, 16-5. He's going up against a guy in Torres who's almost 28, who's a different kind of fighter, a guy that's going to bring chaos and is not going to let Trey just kind of like work his way into the fight and figure out how to win minutes. I think Trey's going to be pushed into making some decisions that maybe he doesn't want to make. When I saw where this line was, Brady, I was saying to myself, man, I'm a big Loco Torres fan. I really am, but I don't know what this guy looks like outside of round one. I'm missing a lot of information here, and I do know that Trey Ogden can find more than one path to win a fight. We've seen him do that. We've seen him do it with his grappling on the regional scene and his wrestling. We've seen him do it with his striking as well. But with Torres, you just kind of see a guy that goes out there like a Tasmanian devil and just brings people into wars. And Trey's been finishing 3 of his 5 losses. So I would prefer to bet somebody that's durable against Torres, somebody that can go out there and weather that storm. But, man, we've seen Ogden get finished 3 times, twice by guillotine choke in the first round. And Loco Torres got a nice little guillotine that we saw him finish Carlos Cañada on the regional scene with. So, yeah, man, I mean, I'm leaning Torres here. I'm picking him to win this fight. But if Ogden gets out of the first round, I think that would be a great spot to live bet Ogden, just assuming that we don't know what Torres looks like after round 1. And also, I think fight doesn't start round 2 is my favorite way to play violence in this spot. Look, Torres been out of the first round once in his career. So why pay minus 155 for the under 2.5 when you can get like plus 250 for the fight doesn't start round 2 and get it by your best win condition? You can wager much less to win a lot more.
Yeah, I'm shocked this isn't set at 1.5. I'm not sure what they're doing here, but yeah, it's at 2.5. Torres has only been over 2.5 once. He's only seen the second round once. He's only been over like a half of a round 3 times, which is wild. Like a lot of his fights are finishing under 1/2 of a round, let alone 1.5 rounds. So yeah, I think violence is the way to go. I don't mind that fight won't start round 2 if it's anywhere near plus 250. But I probably expect money to start coming in on violence throughout the week once they go and watch and see that Torres fights like he's completely coked out of his mind.
He's so much fun to watch, and like this card is full of fights like this. Vinicius Salvador versus Altamirano, this one, and then we're just going to go up the card and we're going to find violent fighter after violent fighter, get people that finish fights here. This is a really great card.
Really violent card. All right. Let's keep moving on. My goodness, like they're putting these fights in a row, man. These fights are crazy. CJ Vergara going against Daniel Da Silva Lacerda. We got Vergara, 31 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Lacerda, 26 years old, 5'6" with a 70-inch reach. We got Lacerda, who's 5 years younger, same height. And then Lacerda's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. Vergara is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Ode Osborne. Lost that fight by decision. He beat Kletzen Rodriguez by decision. He lost to Tatsuro Taira by submission. As far as Daniel Lacerda, he made his debut against Jeff Molina. Lost that fight by knockout. Got submitted by Bad first round. And then got knocked out by Victor Altamirano in the first round. Daniel Lacerda is about kill or be killed as you can get. Like, he's the definition of kill or be killed. This guy has a 100% finish rate. He's never seen a third round. I don't think he's been over 1.5 rounds ever. So this, whenever I see Lacerda on a card, which, by the way, I'm shocked he's getting another opportunity here after just looking atrocious thus far, but he is, which is awesome because I'm looking at violence. I was able to get like 3.5 units down on that under 2.5 at -112. Thank you, FanDuel Sportsbook. And then I'll also be looking at, playing like an under 1.5, under 2.5 as well. Just going to be looking to see where these lines come out, but they're probably going to be all over it. Looks like the under 1.5 rounds is -155, which makes a lot of sense with the way this guy fights. He's never been over that 1.5 rounds. I actually like Vergara here a lot. The only problem is he's a big favorite. I mean, people know by now, Lacerda is just not UFC caliber. He's probably, I don't know, man. It's close. I think it's close between him and Malcolm Gordon for like pound for pound worst durability. Like this Lacerda, like when people put it on him, when things are going tough for Lacerda, he will find that door very, very quickly. And it seems like a tough matchup because Vergara is like the complete opposite. Like Vergara is super tough. He's super durable. So unless Lacerda finishes him in the first, couple minutes, which it's hard to see happening, Vergara should just put it on him, and Lacerda's probably going to quit for the 4th time in a row. So I like violence here first and foremost, and then I like Vergara as well. I like Vergara by finish as well. I think he finishes Lacerda probably like late first round.
Dude, if this fight goes 15 minutes, I'm probably quitting capping for the rest of my life and just saying I don't understand this sport, because this is going to be CJ Vergara's constant pressure up against Daniel Lacerda's breakability, but he brings such a fury, early in fights that he has, whoever his opponent is going to have difficulty dealing with what Lacerda's doing on the feet. And dude, my God, I mean, our guy F. Carrillo, he greased it here by giving us a donation early in the show, but it looks like Tajik Bey's donate button has once again been stuck. It got stuck. I mean, this poor guy. Somebody call YouTube support. Tajik Bey's donation button is stuck, and he meant to give us $20, and now he's done it 7 times in a row. And there it is again. Oh my God!
I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens.
Dude, this poor guy. I mean, YouTube has to owe Tajik Bey literally thousands of dollars at this point, because they're playing tricks on him. It sticks the button every time, and he just keeps donating. The GOAT. You gotta love the guy, man. The guy is the best supporter of content creators out there. Appreciate you, Tajik Bey, always doing the best here on Pub Sports Radio and helping us out, man.
Yeah, there's no denying that, man. That's 9 in a row now.
My God, the poor guy got somebody call YouTube support. I don't have time to do it.
It's 10. Oh my gosh, Tajik, are you okay? Is somebody holding you at gunpoint? Oh my gosh.
Somebody check in on Tajik Bey. He might be getting held hostage. The YouTube people might have come over there and just put a paperweight on his donate button. I don't know what happened here, but my God. Yeah, and Cole Stein saying A1 Twitter content. Yeah, Tajik Bey's always doing great Twitter content as well. So thank you so much. But yeah, dude, if you want to see like money come in to your betting account, like you see Tajik Bey's money coming into Pub Sports Radio right now, get on that under. I don't really see how this fight goes over 1.5 rounds here because of the way that Vergara fights. He's just in your face. He breaks people with his pressure. And Lacerda is easily one of the most breakable fighters. Tajik Bey's okay. All right, good.
Okay.
But that could be somebody telling him, hey, type that you're okay, so people won't come here and check on you. So we maybe actually still need to check on Tajik Bey. But yeah, get some help, YouTube support, says Jason Peace.
Agreed.
Yeah, dude, this is violence. I mean, I don't really know how to break this down any other way. Fight doesn't start round 2, under 1.5. It's something that's absolutely parlayable. And I think I'm going to be getting on that the first chance I get.
Yep. I mean, a lot of my night's going to come down to the under 2.5. I have a lot on it. Probably should have put even more on it. Like, I know some people that put like a lot on it, and you got to take advantage of those FanDuel lines. I don't know why they do that. I think they like have the same lines as another book that is offshore. I forget which book they were talking about. I think it's like a European book, and they use those same lines. And that European book was like did the same thing, all over under 2.5s at minus 115. So I don't know, but it was weird. It was a weird situation, but you got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just bizarre that they would do that. But hey, that's what you do as a gambler. You try to find lines that are mispriced, find lines that are too cheap, and you take advantage. You pounce when you see them, and that's what you have to do, and that's what you should have done here, Brady. And good on you for doing it, man. You did your job. Now the fighters just need to do theirs, and these guys are both violent men, so I don't see why that wouldn't happen.
Yep. Sadly, it'll be probably the last opportunity we have to bet a Lacerda under, though.
Yeah, I know. But, if the guy keeps fighting the way that he does, he might become the Sam Alvey of the organization, string together 8 losses and a draw and just keep getting fights. So why not, man? I mean, the guy is always in fun fights, so why not let him go 0-4, 0-5, 0-6? The guy's going to fight that way, man. He's going to put asses in the seats.
Oh, Bodog had it too. So Bodog and them had it too. Wow.
Razor sharp picks in the room too, man. Alan Hayes with a $10 donation. Dude, we got the best audience here on Pub Sports Radio. Big up all of you guys.
Yeah, y'all being generous tonight. Alan, appreciate you with the $10. Tajik with the $19.99 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 times 8 times 9. I'm no math guy, Weezy, but 20 times 9
is 180.
180. That is crazy. Appreciate you, Tajik Bey. You're definitely the goat of supporting the community. And Carrillo, another great supporter with the $5. Thank you, fam. Appreciate you both. We be pubbing. Appreciate you, Carrillo, Tajik, Alan, and everybody else hanging out in the chat. Mr. D, Sam Alvey's the goat. I don't know about that. But yeah, I do like Sam Alvey, actually.
I said yes, sir. You're just as soon as you said, I don't know about that.
I do not know about that one, but let's keep it rolling, Weezy, to another potential violent spot, honestly. We got Officer Trevin Giles, going against Preston Parsons. We got Giles, 30 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. Parsons, 27 years old, 5'11" with a 71-inch reach. Parsons, 3 years younger. Officer Giles, 1-inch height advantage, and then Officer Giles with that 3-inch reach advantage. So Giles is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A knockout win against Bavon Lewis, a decision win against Roman Dolidze, a knockout loss against Dricus du Plessis, Michael Morales, and then a decision win against Luis Cosi in a fight where both guys did not want to fight that night, but he was able to kind of squeak it out there. Preston Parsons is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Tough debut against Daniel Rodriguez. Lost that fight by knockout, but bounces back with a decision win against Evan Elder in a fight where he almost got multiple finishes, multiple chokes, but Evan Elder is just next level tough. So, yeah, I've Officer Giles, I've had mixed feelings about him. I think he's one of the more, I don't know, he's a very talented guy. He just can't really seem to put it together. And this is a guy that has a really good skill set. He's a black belt in BJJ. He has good offensive and defensive wrestling. He has really good striking. It's just he can be low volume and he can have some of the worst fight IQ you'll ever see. There'll be some fights where he shows up and he looks really good. And then there's going to be fights where he shows up and just looks very, very bad. So it's kind of hard to gauge Officer Giles. I mean, he's just very inconsistent. Preston Parsons, I'm a big fan of Parsons, another very exciting fighter. What's interesting about this fight, Weezy, what sticks out to me off the bat is the finish losses. Both these guys have been finished. Giles 4 for 4. In his losses have came inside the distance, and then Parsons 3 for 3. That is all 7 of these guys, 7 losses have came inside the distance. Parsons been to decision only once. So yeah, I'm looking violence here again. But in terms of a pick, I think I'm going to go with Parsons here. I have not checked the line, but it looks like Parsons is there it is. Oh, it's a straight pick 'em, which it makes sense to me because, like I said, Officer Giles, like if he can put it all together, I think is a very good fighter. It's just sometimes he can, and sometimes he looks very bad. So we'll see which version of Trevin Giles shows up. But yeah, this should be a very fun fight just because it's a Preston Parsons fight, and you'll never see Parsons in a boring fight ever.
Ever. Yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of Preston Parsons. I really love what this kid brings to the table. He's got, for a guy, when you look at his record and you're like, oh, wow, he's 10-3 and he's got 9 wins by submission, no knockouts, 1 decision win. You're like, shit, man, this guy's, a one-dimensional grappler, but his striking's good, man. Even when he was fighting Daniel Rodriguez, he was landing some good shots, but Rodriguez landed something in his eye. And I don't know if it was like he kind of like caught the edge of the glove. It wasn't an eye poke, but it was something that really screwed up Preston's eye. And then from there, Daniel kind of just took over and finished the fight pretty easily. But Parsons can strike, but he's a good wrestler and he's got a really good ground game. The guy is very, very aggressive. Wherever the fight goes, he's very aggressive. The nickname is Pressure, and I just love that, because it's an alliteration. First of all, you got Preston Parsons, PP, and then you put the pressure in there. That's your third P, triple P, Preston Parsons, coming to take everything that Trevin Giles has worked for, and it's not going to be easy. Trevin Giles with fight IQ would be like a mythical creature. This guy put himself into that guillotine against Zach Cummings. He went into Gerald Meerschaert's guard in round 3. He was winning that fight. Like, it kind of reminded me of, you remember the Jessica Penne versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz fight where Penne's on her ass, on her back. Kowalkiewicz is standing above her, and Penne's going, come on. And Kowalkiewicz said, you know what? If that's what you want, I'll do it. Well, that's exactly what Trevin Giles did to Gerald Meerschaert. A guy with 24 submission wins. This guy, if he made good decisions in the cage, he would be a fantastic fighter. But if he made good decisions in the cage, he probably would have found another occupation in life other than police officer, because sometimes police officers just don't make the best decisions. We've seen it over and over again on footage, on the television for years. And Giles is no exception from that. The guy makes really bad decisions. He's got one of the best jabs in the UFC, and he barely throws it. He's getting his takedowns at a 58% clip, and has got some of the best ground and pound when he gets on top of dudes. But he's only attempted 19 takedowns in 10 fights, and he's only controlling his opponents less than 20% of the time, despite the fact that he does have good wrestling, despite the fact that he does get on top of dudes and have good ground and pound as well. So I can't sit there and say I'm going to hope that Trevin Giles makes good decisions here. So, I'm leaning Parsons, and here's why. I just think that Parsons is going to do more. And he's pretty durable, but he has been finished in his losses. But the thing is, you look at the dudes that this guy's losing to. It's Mike Perry on the regional scene, Valdir Araujo on the regional scene, and then Daniel Rodriguez on like a week's notice. It was a short notice replacement. So Trevin Giles is not the best finisher at this level. He's got a great 73% finish rate as a pro, but he's finished 3 of his 6 wins. And then when you look at the wins, he's not finishing Lou Kosi, a guy with 1, round of cardio. He finishes Bavon Lewis. He finishes James Bochniak. They're not great fighters. So I just think that Parsons is probably going to be the A side here because Trevin Giles probably could, win the distance striking battles by popping that jab out there, but he won't do it enough. Trevin Giles probably could get a takedown and win a round with ground and pound, but I don't know if he'll shoot. And I do know that Preston Parsons will pressure. I do know that Preston Parsons is going to mix in the wrestling. And we've seen Trevin Giles show 73% takedown defense. And he's getting control for 22% of his UFC career, 46% of his control positions he's winning, while for Parsons, it's over 80%. So, I do like Preston Parsons here. He's younger. He's hungrier. He fights with a lot more urgency and a lot more pace. And I think that the ground game, while Trevin Giles has got a really good ground game, he does. I think it's very similar here. So I'm going to go with the youth and the output and the urgency of Preston Parsons here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can trust him to go out there and do more as well. Close line. Parsons minus 105. Looks like he's plus 100 still on Caesars, and then Giles sitting at minus 115. So close line fight. Don't know if I'll get there on a bet with Parsons, but I do lean him. But Trevin Giles fights are just really hard to cap in general. I feel like a lot can go crazy at his fights. I feel like.
Yeah, he's a frustrating guy to bet on and bet against because, how the hell did he beat Roman Dolidze? Mm-hmm. This guy probably just beat Vettori last night. And you look back and you're like, wait, what the fuck? Trevin Giles beat this guy? He beat Roman Dolidze? And the answer is, yeah, he did. I mean, and then he goes out there and he barely beats Lou Cosi. It's just weird. It's very difficult.
Yep. Very difficult to cap some officer Trevin Giles, but we'll see. I think it should be a fun fight just because we know Preston Parsons is going to bring it, whereas Louis Cosi, he didn't show up that night. He pulled a William Knight pretty much.
Yeah, that's for sure. William Knight. Oh God, I forgot about that.
Thanks, you forgot about it?
Me. I really had. That's one of the things in life. If you want to be a happy person, Brady, sometimes you have to repress the bad memories. Put them in a part of your brain where you don't remember them. So thank you. Thank you for reminding me. By the way, William Knight was the one leg of the greasy four-legger that didn't cash that night. So, that one hurt. That's some special bad memories now that have been brought back into my head.
Dude, going back and looking at the numbers, Louis Cosi landed only 2 strikes in the first round against Giles. 2. And the fight didn't hit the mat.
And Lou Cosi's the guy who comes out and wins only in the first round. So what the hell happened there?
Get some help, Louis Cosi. He landed 1 strike in the third and 2 strikes in the first.
Wow.
That is very impressive.
And Trevin Giles, 63.76% striking defense at distance, man. This guy's good. If he could just make good decisions and really work on that game plan. I think if Trevin Giles went to a real camp, he could actually be pretty good. And the guy is still only 30 years old.
Yeah. No, I always thought he's very skilled, but he's lacking in the fight IQ. But I don't know. Maybe he could put it together here. But we'll see. It should be a good fight regardless, though.
Absolutely.
All right. Moving on, then we have another good fight. We have Steven Peterson going against Lucas Alexander. We got Peterson, 32 years old, 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. Alexander, 27 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. Alexander, 5 years younger, 1-inch height advantage and 3-inch reach advantage. We got Lucas Alexander is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He lost to Joe Anderson Brito by submission. Prior to that, he knocked out Jacob Kilburn, who's also in the UFC. Steven Peterson is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Had a decision loss to Luis Pena, a decision loss to Alex Caceres, a knockout win against Martin Bravo, a decision win against Chase Hooper, and then a decision loss against Julian Erosa in one of my favorite fights of the year. I think it was last year. So, it should be another exciting fight here, Weezy.
Absolutely, man. And Alexander's only got 10 professional fights, 3 losses, all of them by submission. And Steven Peterson's got a good amount of submissions on his resume there. I think he's got 9 wins by submission out of 19, so pretty impressive. But Alexander's 5 years younger. He's a Fusion Excel guy, and those are some really good grapplers over there. So I'm kind of surprised that Alexander has lost 3 times by submission. But when you watch the tape on him, he's a good striker. He prefers to be there. He's long. He throws straight shots. He looks good technically. And he's got some power up there. He's won 3 of his 7 wins are by knockout, and the other 4 are by decision. The guy's 4-0 in his career in decisions, while Steven Peterson really hasn't been the best minute winner. 6-9 overall in decisions. And when you look at the distance striking numbers for Steven Peterson, you can kind of see why. He's high output. He's throwing 18 distance strikes per minute that he spends at distance, but his opponents are actually throwing more at 20. So he's been in some high output battles here, but he's landing 6.84 and absorbing 9.11. So yeah, he's getting outthrown and outlanded at distance. 55% distance defense, not great. Steven Peterson's got 38% distance accuracy. And Lucas Alexander, this is kind of weird, but it actually shows him with a very rare 100% distance striking defense. That's got to be an error. There is no way Joe Anderson Brito didn't land 1 distance strike. I want to see if my numbers are correct here on that one. Lucas Alexander against Joe Anderson Brito. Yeah, holy shit. Brito was 0 for 4 at distance. So you've got a guy in Lucas Alexander who the statistics are telling you it's impossible to hit this man. We got to dump the bank account on Lucas Alexander here. The stats never lie, Brady. He's got a 100% distance striking defense. You can't hit what you can't see. This is going to be Alexander all day.
Yep.
Or maybe not, though. Maybe not. Peterson, out-controlling his opponents at a 2-to-1 ratio at the UFC level. 10 takedowns on 29 attempts, out-controlling his opponents 26% to 13%. So that means he's winning 67% of the control time positions that he's in. He's getting 1.55 takedowns per 15 minutes and allowing 1.4. So we could see Steven Peterson have some success with the wrestling and the grappling here, because Alexander's a guy who's never won by submission. He's lost all of his pro fights by submission. And Steven Peterson's a guy who will grapple and who's spending about 37% of his UFC cage time, which is almost 100 minutes at this point, in control time positions. So I kind of feel like we're going to see Lucas Alexander try to keep this one standing, and we're going to see Steven Peterson try to get this one going with the grappling. Peterson's just a lot more experienced, though. He's fought a much better brand of competition over his career. And, he's still 33 years old almost. He's 32 years, 9 months. So Lucas is going to be the taller guy, the longer guy, the younger guy at a different point in his career here. He might be hungrier, but we saw that Steven Peterson still wants to fight. That Erosa fight showed that he's got a ton of heart and that he's down to get into a war. And, he'll be there for the full 15 minutes. Even if you show up trying to take his head off. So I kind of feel like Peterson, being the veteran, and Lucas Alexander having shown some holes in his game before, is probably going to get the job done here, but I don't have a strong opinion on this one.
Yep, Peterson opened up -170, currently -175. Alexander opened up +145, currently +150. Over under set at 2.5 rounds, over 2.5, -130, under 2.5 rounds, +100. I'd be interested to see what Peterson by sub is, just due to the fact that we've seen Alexander submitted in all of his losses, and Peterson is a pretty good black belt, I think, or a brown belt.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one to look at. I don't know if any other sites right now have opened up any props, because BetOnline did a great job getting the totals out here, but I don't see much else available, Brady.
Me either. But that would be something to look out for potentially.
Absolutely. I think that's a great look, dude. Peterson by sub.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's move on to kind of a weird fight, man. Daniel Pineda going against Tucker Lutz. We got Pineda, 37 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. Tucker Lutz, 28 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. We got Lutz, who is 9 years younger. He's going to have a 1-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. Daniel Pineda, He is has a bunch of no contests here in fights that he did win and I believe finish, and they got turned to no contest because he popped for PEDs. It was not weed, it was PEDs. Then he makes his debut against Herbert Burns. But he was a dog in that matchup. Ended up TKOing Herbert Burns in that fight. Looked really good, and then he shows up against Cub Swanson and looks really, really bad. He looks like washed in that fight. Just looked awful, terrible in that fight. And then he looks horrible against Andre Fili as well. So Tucker Lutz, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He beat Aguilar by decision, lost to Pat Sabatini by decision. No shame in that. Yeah, I guess it's just more so Pineda. He's now 37 years old, and he's looked just atrocious as of late. I'm not sure where he's at. He was on his way to getting probably finished by Andre Fili, but Fili got him with the eye poke, so it turned into a no contest there. It should be Tucker Lutz here pretty much all day, but he's going to have to survive like a couple minutes where Pineda's most dangerous. But it seems like after a couple minutes, Pineda doesn't have much left at this point. So Tucker Lutz is a pretty big favorite here. I think he's a pretty big favorite for a reason. I don't think Pineda is probably UFC caliber, but yeah, he looked really good against Burns. But outside of that, he's looked really, really bad. So yeah, Lutz for me, but he is a pretty big favorite here.
Yeah, he is. And it's an interesting clash of styles here because in Pineda, you got a guy who literally has 100% finish rate. And you're talking about over 40 professional fights. I know I screwed up with the stats here a little bit.
Wild.
There's 2 UFC fights that aren't included in here in my stats. So I think Pineda's got 42 professional fights, 36% knockout rate, 64% submission rate. I mean, this guy fights like he's triple parked and the cops are outside. And he throws the heaviest calf kicks that I've seen in a long time. I mean, like the way that he throws them, Brady, it looks like 2 of them can land and you're pretty much done. When he beat, it was the Cubs Swanson fight. I didn't think that Swanson was going to get out of that first round. He was punishing Swanson's legs. And we know that Cub Swanson is a very gritty dude. And he was able to come out the other end in the second round there and get that in that knockout. But I don't think there's a lot of guys that stand up to what Daniel Pineda does in round 1. So if you're on that Tucker Lutz side, you better be damn sure that he's durable. I'll tell you that, man, because Pineda's going to bring absolute hell for the first 3.5, 4 minutes of this fight. And it's something that I don't think a lot of UFC fighters would be able to handle, especially the lower level ones. And, you know, we don't really know where Tucker Lutz is at this point. 14 fights, 7-year career. You know, he's got a 66% finish rate as a pro. But, you know, the fights against higher level competition here, you know, Chase Gibson, Sherrard Blackledge, Aguilar, you know, those are fights that he's winning by decision. He's winning minutes with his striking. 52% distance striking accuracy. He's landing 1.3 more strikes at distance than his opponents do. He's throwing about 3 more distance strike attempts more than his opponents do. But here's the problem, Brady. 46% distance striking defense against Daniel Pineda. That's not good. I'm going to be looking at a Daniel Pineda round 1 prop here. He's a pretty big underdog. I think you might be able to get him at a fat plus money number. And I think that that's a great way to look at this because this guy's got a 100% finish rate. He's at a point in his career where he might have gotten to that, what I call the Bob Sapp point in your career, where you literally tell the promoter, I'm going to come out there and fight for 90 seconds, like my life depends on it. And if I don't get my opponent out of there, I am going to find the door. And I think that that's what's going to happen here. And I think we might even see Tucker Lutz get a UFC finish if this fight gets out of the first round because Pineda just doesn't have 3-round cardio anymore. And especially now that he's off the gas because he got a couple of wins in the same night. And then, boy, he pissed into a cup and it melted through the cup. And then that piss hit the floor and it melted through the floor. Dude, he was really hopped up on goofballs, Brady. And now that, you know how it is, dude. 37 years old, off the gas, 40 professional fights. And in those 12 losses, you've been finished in 8 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this fight's finishing inside the distance. It'll either be Pineda in round 1, and then it will probably be Lutz in round 2 or round 3.
Yeah, that's how I'd be attacking it. Violence. Like you said, Pineda has probably a couple minutes here, and he's super dangerous. He really is, but he's another guy that just looks for the door when the going gets tough. And Tucker Lutz, although not the best finish in the world, when you're completely gassed out, yeah, I could see Lutz getting like a second or third round finish. So yeah, it's violence for me. And then yeah, like you said, Pineda first round prop, like that's like Mac won last week. Like that's literally how he wins in the first round. Nothing else. Once it hits the second, it's over. Same thing for Pineda here, I think. If he does not finish in the first round, I don't see him having much of a chance. He's not winning a decision. He's never done it in 40 fights. Why is he going to do it now at 37 years old? If he wins this fight, it's going to be round 1. So maybe the round 1's at like plus 1,000 or something, considering he's a really big dog here.
Yeah, he is a big dog, and I can see why. But, you look at those names, man, Andre Philly and Cub Swanson, and then you look at Tucker Lutz, and he's beaten Kevin Aguilar and Sherrard Blackledge and Chase Gibson, and it's like, okay, there's a little bit level. There's a difference in the level of competition here. But even Daniel Pineda's wins, and there have been 2 of them at the UFC level. You add up those guys' records; they're 3-4 in the UFC. So it's not like Pineda is beating these guys that. I mean, he's beating maybe Tucker Lutz quality guys, maybe even not that high a level as Tucker Lutz. So it's an interesting stylistic matchup. But Daniel Pineda is just not in boring fights, so it's going to be a fun one.
Yep, it'll be another fun fight, another violent fight, another fight where I will be looking at some violence here. All right, more violence. We have Chidi and Njokuani going against Albert Duraev. We got Chidi and Njokuani, 34 years old, 6'3", with an 80-inch reach. Albert Duraev, 34 years old, 5'11", with a 75-inch reach. Same age there, but Chidi's going to be much bigger with a 4-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage. Chidi Njokuani's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Marc-Andre Barrio. Prior to that, got that knockout win against Mario Souza, had a knockout win against Dusko Todorovic, and then had a knockout loss against Gregory Rodriguez, where, man, he almost finished Rodriguez a lot in that first round. But Rodriguez was able to kind of come back, had that big like hole in his forehead, and then finished Duraev in that second round, just kind of broke him there. Very, very fun fight. But yeah, Chidi, is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. All 5 of those finishing inside the distance. Duraev, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Roman Kopylov in a decision win where that fight probably should have been stopped several times. Like he almost killed Kopylov in that second round. He was in mount for like 3.5 minutes, just pounding away. The ref did not want to stop that fight, but he looked solid. He did get dropped early on, though, I believe. And then he gets knocked out by Joaquin Buckley in it was in Texas as well last year. I was at that fight. So yeah, Weezy, another violent spot. I did hop in on the under 2.5 on FanDuel Sportsbook. They generously put it at -112 there. I put 2.5 units on it. I think violence is the way to go here. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. Duraev is going to be looking to get this fight down to the mat. Chidi's going to be looking to keep it on the feet. Chidi has a ton of power, and Duraev has a very good ground game. So I think somebody's getting served here. And I don't know, it's kind of an interesting fight to call because Chidi, you take a look at his past fights, and there are a lot of fights where he is getting taken down, and he's quitting in a lot of these fights. Yeah. And it looks like he kind of turned a corner. But Rodriguez kind of broke him in his last fight. So it's going to be an interesting fight here. I think it should be lining close. I'm not sure what the line is yet, but I'm thinking violence first and foremost. And this should be another really, really fun fight. How do you feel about this one, Weezy?
Yeah, right now Chidi's -170 on Bet Online, Duraev +145, and the under 1.5 round sitting at -105 for this one. So, yeah, this is a great fight. You just broke it down perfectly. Albert Duraev absolutely going to be looking to try to get this fight to the ground because, Duraev at distance, he's absorbing about a half more strike per minute than he lands. His opponents are throwing like 2.3 more significant strike attempts at distance per minute than Albert is. And when you look at Chidi on the other side, it's not a lot of minutes there. It's only 4.5 minutes at distance. But, he's outlanding his opponents by 0.5 while they're out throwing him. But look at Chidi's accuracy. He's 61% accurate at distance, while for Duraev, it's 35%. And then you've got, Duraev with a 67% distance defense, and Chidi, it's only 50%. But Chidi's got that power on the feet, man. 7.14 knockdowns per total distance strikes landed. This guy's got 2 knockdowns in 3 UFC fights, and he's only landed 69 significant strikes. So definitely Chidi and Njokuani is going to be very dangerous at distance. But Chidi Njokuani has he's got 8 professional losses, 3 by submission, 4 by knockout. This guy's been finished in 7 of his 8 losses. And then when you look over on the other side, and it's Duraev's been knocked out 4 times. Yeah. And he's only lost 4 fights. So, yeah, 12 combined losses, 11 of them inside the distance.
Wow.
This is another one, man. It's really hard to see this one going the distance, because the one thing that really surprised me about Duraev after that joint Dana White Contender Series fight was I was like, man, Duraev, if things aren't going well for him, man, he checks the fuck out. Doesn't have great cardio, not the best heart, but he's very dangerous when he gets on top of dudes. And if he can get takedowns, he's gonna, get on top. He's gonna stay there, and he's either gonna work for a submission or land some serious ground and pound. But he's 3 for 18 on takedown attempts. That's terrible, man. 16.67% takedown accuracy, 1.8 per 15 minutes. But still, he's got 30% control time, though. So he's out-controlling his opponents at a 9.3 to 1 ratio. So that's how Albert has to win. He's got to get a takedown against Chidi. And if he does, Chidi's probably going to find the door. And if he can't get the takedown against Chidi, he's probably going to gas out, and Chidi's going to put it on him, and it'll be the 5th knockout loss of Albert Duraev's career. So I would play this one, Chidi Njokuani by KO. I think that's the way he wins here. If you can get that at plus money, that's probably the way to go. Chidi's a black belt. So I think that even if he does get taken down, he might be able to last with Albert. And the longer the fight goes, we just don't see cardio out of Albert Duraev. And I think the way that Chidi's landing big shots up here at this point in his career, both of these guys are 34 years old. So they're both, at the same point in their career here. But Chidi's got 12 more professional fights. He's just been a lot busier than Albert Duraev has. And I just see a little more desire at this point in his career. Albert really does check out if he doesn't get that early takedown. And that 3rd round, Duraev versus Kopylov, man, that was a fun one, because I don't think either one of them had anything left in the tank, and they had to fight for 5 minutes there, and it was an absolute disaster. So I'm going with Chidi. I'm going with Chidi by KO.
Yep. I think someone's going to find the door here, though. I think more violence for me, for sure. But yeah, I'm with you. Chidi, I'm with you on Chidi. I will have some serious concerns if Duraev is able to get that takedown, but I think he probably knocks out Duraev like early on in the 1st round, actually. I think this guy has so much freaking power, and I don't like the durability of Duraev. I don't like how he reacts to shots as well. So I think Chidi probably even catches him early on here. So I like the under 2.5, even under 1.5 potentially at a pick 'em. Fight doesn't go as a parlay piece. I think it's another fight where I'd be kind of surprised if it went the full 15.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised, man. I mean, come on, 12 loss sample size, and 11 of them are inside the distance, and it's essentially a striker versus grappler matchup. Yeah, this all sets up towards violence here.
Yep, for sure.
Speaking of violence.
Are we speaking about some more violence on the next one?
I think so. You know what I mean? We talked about it, Brady, right?
Oh, we are, yes.
You start off the card with a banger like Haley Cohen versus Tamiris Vidal, and you would think to yourself, Brady, well, it's not going to get any better from here. But it actually does. It just keeps getting better. More violence after more violence, and we're starting with Cohen versus Tamiris Vidal. They are spoiling us this week, my friend.
You know what? The judging sucks, and we know that. And the judging in Texas typically sucks. I might play like a ton of unders this week. Screw the judges. You're not screwing me this week, judges. I'm gonna play some freaking unders. You're not getting involved with my action, because I like a lot of these unders this week, and this is another one of them. We got Manel Kape going against Alex Perez. We got Kape, 29 years old, 5'5", the 68-inch reach. Perez, 30 years old, 5'6" for the 65-inch reach. We got Kape 1 year younger. It's going to be Kape with a 1-inch reach disadvantage, but a 3-inch reach advantage. Perez is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Mark De La Rosa. Submission win against Jordan Espinoza. Knockout win against Jussier Formiga. Submission loss to Davison Figueiredo and Alexander Pantoja. As far as Manel Kape, He is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss against Alexander Pantoja. Decision loss against Mateus Nicolau. Knockout win against Ode Osborne. Knockout win against Zalga Sumagulov, and then a decision win against David Dvorak. And yeah, the thing with Alex Perez is he went in there against Davison Figueiredo, and at this point, that fight was so long ago for the championship. He went in there and he got finished in like less than 2 minutes, and then he comes back like 2 years later, only for him to get finished again in less than 2 minutes. So in the past like three and a half years, he's been in the cage for only like three minutes and something, and he got finished in both of those fights. So yeah, not a good look for Perez, which is kind of wild, because I like Perez. I think he's solid. He has those really hard leg kicks, solid striking, just a solid, really well-rounded fighter overall. But yeah, it's kind of fallen on some tough times here. Manel Kape, I really like Kape. He could be low volume at times, but it looks like he's starting to finally put it together. He had those 2 stinkers against Nicolau and Pantoja where he just didn't do anything. He blamed, I think, the Pantoja fight on like that he wasn't allowed to wear, what was it, like shoes in the cage? Is that what it was?
Yes. He said that his feet sweat too much and that he was pissed off he couldn't wear shoes.
So, yeah, maybe he's starting to get used to it a little bit, and we can tell, man, he's looking good. He's starting to finally put together a lot of volume. Like, he landed 53 strikes in the first round of the Zalgas fight where he got that knockout. And in the Pantoja fight, he only landed 49 in 15 minutes. So he's starting to finally put it together. He's starting to finally, put that volume together. He's always had that power. His grappling's improved quite a bit, throughout the past couple of years. He has been subbed twice, but I believe he's a black belt now. So yeah, I really do like Kape. So yeah, I think Kape is the favorite here, if I'm not mistaken. Kape is minus 200 favorite here against Alex Perez, and I think people are very low on Alex Perez, and it's kind of hard not to be. I mean, he's just not shown like anything of substance in the last like 3.5 years. But Manel Kape's been looking good, so I think Manel Kape's on the come up here, and Alex Perez, I don't know, maybe he shows us something here, but he's shown us really nothing in a very long time. I think it's another violent spot though. It's a Manel Kape fight. Manel Kape fights are typically violent. Weezy, how do you feel about this one? Should be another very fun fight with 2 very exciting flyweights here.
Yeah, probability that the fight doesn't happen, maybe 75%. I mean, this guy Perez just doesn't show up. And then probability that one or both fighters misses weight, probably about 80%.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kape misses weight regularly. Perez misses weight regularly. Perez, I think, has pulled out of 10 of his last 13 fights. I might be wrong about that, but it's something like crazy. This guy cannot make it to the goddamn cage. So this is going to be the last fight that I tape. But I've already got a bet on this. I've got 2.5 units. Or no, I've got 2 units on the under 2.5 that I got at plus 124. For this one.
You prick.
Yeah, I know. I got a good line on that one. I didn't get the FanDuel lines, but it's still a good one. Yeah, look, Perez is a finisher. Kape's a finisher. Perez has finished 4 of his 6 UFC wins. Manel Kape's got a career 89% finish rate as a pro, 16 of 18 wins inside the distance. And Perez has been finished in 6 of 7 pro losses, and Kape's been finished with 2 of 6. Kape is starting to put it together now. He's very, very good on the feet when he throws. He's got a lot of power. His jiu-jitsu is very good. He mixes in the wrestling and can win a couple minutes here or there by getting some takedowns. Manel's really on the come up here, and he's still only 29 years old. And yeah, you make your UFC debut against Alexander Pantoja and then Mateus Nicolau. It shows that you're ready for this level and that you're already fighting the highest level of competition that the division has to offer. I mean, Pantoja is still, it's like criminal that this dude hasn't had a title fight yet. I don't know what they're waiting for, but hopefully he'll be next. Kape's just better, but Alex Perez is very dangerous. When he does show up to fight, he's got great low leg kicks, and that can take any fighter and put them in a spot where they're not entirely used to not being able to put pressure on their lead leg. If you're heavy on your lead leg against Alex Perez, he's going to cause you some problems. But I don't think that that's really Kape. I mean, he does have more of a Muay Thai style when he strikes. He's going to be probably checking some of those leg kicks, and he's very explosive as a counter striker. So I love the under 2.5 here. Like I said, I've got 2 units on it at plus 124. I think that Manel Kape definitely gets the job done here. I've been very impressed with how he's finding those moments, but I'm also beginning to get a little more, believe a little bit more in Manel Kape's minute winning ability at this level as well. So I'm through fading this dude because I feel like Manel Kape is the kind of fighter who can do nothing for 12 minutes and then pull a win out of his ass in the last 3 with a flying knee or something. So I think that Manel is a very dangerous guy to fade at this point. Will I be getting to the money line where it's at right now? No, but I do love Manel Kape inside the distance here, and I love the under 2.5.
Yeah, I think violence is another way to go here. So yeah, lots of violent spots in a row. Manel Kape, Perez, violence. Chidi, Duraev, violence. Pineda, Lutz, violence. Giles, Parsons, violence. Vergara, De Silva, violence. Torres, Ogden, violence. Salvador, Altamirano, violence. Vidal, Cohen, terrible fight. But other than that, yeah, lots of violent fights here. Looking forward to it for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Absolutely. Yeah. And Sean brings up a good point. These flyweight unders, they are cashing. I think so in flyweight fights this year, Weezy, they are 8-1 to the under, and the one that went over was Makayev. That was a last finish. So all 9 flyweight fights this year have finished inside the distance. Look at that for a stat.
Yeah, Yana the Greek's going to be looking for aggression to the mean, and he's going to be betting those overs now. And, the flyweights finish at about 43%. So when they're at 100% finish rate inside the distance for 2023, that's when you kind of do start looking for some of these fights to go over. Is it going to be the Perez Kape fight where I bet the over? Well, no, you already got the news that I'm on the under there. So I hope it continues, man. But Yanni the Greek's going to be like pushing regression in my face and saying that's why I lost the bet if I do wind up losing. So we're gonna find out though on Saturday.
I wonder if he'll take the poke on the De Silva over.
Yikes, dude. You better not be in front of the TV because that will take years off your life if you're betting over in that dude's fights.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell like from the jump. I mean, his fights are going to finish and very quickly with the way he fights. I mean, you can't keep up that pace for 15 minutes. You just can't.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's a couple people who have that cheat code cardio, but they stick out like a sore thumb. Everybody else has to pace themselves, and they have to make sure that they manage their energy.
Yep. And De Silva does not have the cardio, nor the durability, nor the heart, nor a lot of things. So, yeah, I think his fight definitely finishes. All right, let's move on. We have a fight here. Andrea Lee, Maycee Barber. We got Lee, 34 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. Maycee Barber, 24 years old, 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. Barber, 10 years younger. Yeah, only 24 years old. Lee with a 1-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Andrea Lee is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. A decision loss to Lauren Murphy. A decision loss to Roxanne Modafferi. A submission win against Antonina Shevchenko, a knockout win against Cynthia Calvillo, and then a decision loss to Viviane Araújo. As far as Maycee Barber, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision loss to Roxanne Modafferi, a decision loss to Alexa Grasso, a decision win against Miranda Maverick, a decision win against Montana De La Rosa, and then a decision win against Jessica I. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, it's a wide line. So I was kind of like looking at these statistics to see if I can find paths for Andrea Lee here. And yeah, I mean, like the numbers lead me to believe that there could be some value on the Lee side here. So yeah, obviously Maycee Barber much younger, 10 years younger than Andrea Lee, but Andrea Lee's an inch taller and has a 4-inch reach advantage here. She's got 6 more pro fights. She's got 100 more minutes in the pro cage. She's got 1 more UFC fight and about 30 more minutes in the UFC cage. Andrea Lee is landing 7.46 distance strikes per minute spent at distance and only absorbing 5.62. So she's doing a nice job at distance, and she spends 58% of her cage time there. So that's pretty good. Maycee lands 3.91, absorbs 3.7, throws a little bit more volume than her opponents. But the problem is that Maycee couldn't hit water if she fell out of a boat, man. She hits a bunch of fresh air in that cage. 33% distance striking accuracy while it's 12% better for Andrea Lee. And Andrea Lee's offering 16.5 distance strike attempts per minute, while Maycee's offering 11.77. But Maycee does good work getting to the clinch and being mean in there and winning minutes in the clinch. But she hasn't done a great job of wrestling, Brady. Only 6 takedowns in 8 UFC fights. That kind of surprised me. And she's only getting them at 30%. 60% takedown defense. Maycee's actually getting out-controlled by her opponents, which is a little bit surprising. 22% control time for, 35% control time against. So is there a path for Lee here? Lee actually has 14 takedowns. You know, she actually averages 1.68 takedowns per 15 minutes, while Maycee's only averaging 0.97. And Andrea Lee's attempting submissions. She even gets the occasional reverse. But both of these ladies, you know, don't have the best takedown defense, but it's Lee who's been getting taken down 2.4 times per 15 minutes. Andrea Lee has faced 46 takedown attempts in 9 fights. Maycee Barber's faced 10 takedown attempts in 8 fights. So I feel like Lee might be the more well-tested fighter here. I feel like she's definitely going to be the better striker at range. And she doesn't appear to be the kind of girl that's weak enough to be threatened in the clinch and held against the fence like Maycee did against Montana De La Rosa, like she did a little bit against Miranda Maverick. But the losses for Barber against quality competition, you know, Alexa Grasso in particular. And then she lost to Roxanne Modafferi, who's a veteran, but she blew out her knee like right at the beginning of that fight. So I just don't think we saw the best Maycee Barber there. Very wide line here. It's a very wide line. And it's always risky to lay that kind of juice in women's fights. So I don't know, man. What do you think about Andrea Lee at plus 200 here on the money line, Brady?
I'll tell you what I think of Maycee Barber at minus 240.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that analysis there, Brady.
Yeah, I remember that one fight. I think it was against Grasso, man, where it was all over Twitter. They were striking at range, and Maycee Barber was like 10 feet away from Grasso, just like shadow boxing. It looked like she was fighting a ghost in that match. Yeah, so Maycee Barber better go for takedowns, or I mean, she's gonna lose, right? But yeah, I see why people are liking Barber, at least at the early line. But now it's getting a little bit too wide, like way too wide for my liking here. But yeah, I think Barber wins, but you won't see me laying minus 240. It's a clear dog or pass. Andrea Lee plus 199 on Bet Online here. It's the best price by far. Like, for example, on FanDuel, it's plus 164. I see a plus 150, plus 170. So yeah, Bet Online's hanging a pretty juicy dog there in Andrea Lee, and what it could potentially be a close fight. You know, it really could.
Yeah, man, I'm putting a unit on that right now at this line, because I think, like, even later on in the week, I don't think you're going to get Andrea Lee much better than plus 150 here. I think when people kind of look into this fight, they're going to see that Andrea Lee's got a chance to win minutes here, and especially win minutes on the feet, because Maycee Barber's striking is just kind of okay at distance. And if she's not able to bully you in the clinch or on the ground, you know, I could easily see Andrea Lee getting a win here. So I'll take that shot. I'll take that underdog shot at plus 199 on Andrea Lee here. I hope that she keeps it standing long enough to win the minutes.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. All right, let's move on to a very good fight. We have Nate Landwehr going against Austin Lingo. We got Nate Landwehr, 34 years old, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. Austin Lingo, 28 years old, 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. Lingo is 6 years younger. Lingo with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Nate Landwehr, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He had a knockout loss to Herbert Burns, a decision win against Darren Elkins, a knockout loss against Julian Erosa, a submission win against Ludwig Klein, and then a decision win against David Onam in a very exciting fight. Austin Lingo, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Yusuf Salau, lost that fight by decision. He wins against Jacob Kilburn by decision, and then wins against Luis Saldana by decision. So yeah, both these guys are exciting, and they're fighting against each other. So this fight is going to be very exciting as well. Austin Lingo was supposed to fight Ricardo Ramos. Ramos forgot which weight class he was in. He weighed like almost 10 pounds over the limit. So that fight got canceled. I had a big bet on Ramos, but glad it fell through. I mean, the guy just completely forgot, the weight class he was fighting at. I've never seen anything like it. So now they're putting him against Nate Landwehr, what should be a very fun fight. Like Austin Lingo outside the UFC, it was so exciting. He's going in there and just starching guys in less than a couple minutes. The majority of his wins do come by knockout. He's got to the UFC though. The finishing ability has not really translated, but the power's still there. He has a couple knockdowns in the UFC. Nate Landwehr's been knocked out before. This is going to be an absolute slugfest, and it should be a very, very exciting fight. I don't see how this one's boring, and I see why they put this one on the main card.
Yeah, and Lingo's a Texas boy as well, and then Landwehr's not even far from there. He's I think a Tennessee guy or something like that. So, we got a couple of Midwesterners here that are going to be going at it, and it's going to be a really fun fight. Lingo, like you said, got a ton of power, especially early in fights. And then Landwehr, there's just still nothing. I love watching back that Elkins fight and hearing him scream, Dana! It's so great. But Landwehr, I think my favorite moment of Landwehr was him breaking Ludovic Klein in the third round of that fight and making Ludovic Klein wrestle. And as soon as Ludovic was shooting in on those legs of his, man, he was locking up that Darce choke. And I didn't know that he had a great Darce choke like that. But here's the thing about Landwehr. You just don't want to try to wrestle this guy. Prior to the UFC, this guy was a champion in M1. He was wrestling against all these Russians and beating those dudes. So Landwehr, we could see right there on the screen, he's had 22 takedowns shot against him at the UFC level. Only 3 have been successful. And look at the control time ratio, Brady. 21% control time for Landwehr. He's allowing 10.3% control time against. But Nate's only attempted 6 takedowns, and Nate's opponents have attempted 22, almost 4 times as many. But he's still out-controlling his opponents at a 2-to-1 ratio. So very, very difficult to win minutes on the ground against Nate Landwehr. And at distance, Landwehr's in high-volume fights. He's throwing almost 14 distance strikes per minute spent at distance. His opponents are throwing about 15. He's absorbing about 0.2 more distance strikes per minute than he lands. And Lingo is absorbing a little bit less than he lands, and he's throwing just a little bit more. Both of these guys are, in the 40% on accuracy. It's Lingo who's a little bit more defensively responsible. It's Landwehr who's been dropped a couple of times. He's been dropped 3 times in 5 fights. And that's just a little bit concerning against a guy like Austin Lingo, who's got a lot of power, especially early in fights. So I think I would be favoring Landwehr quite a bit here if I felt that Lingo's path to victory was going to be the grappling. But I think Austin's pretty good on the feet. I think he's very dangerous on the feet. And I think that both of these guys are going to kind of get the fight that they want. We'll see how Lingo deals with the pressure of Landwehr, though, because if Landwehr keeps walking forward like he did in that Klein fight, I think that Lingo is definitely going to have some problems with that. But we saw Lingo win a decision against Luis Saldana, who's a very clean, very good, very powerful striker. So I think that this fight's going to stay standing. Maybe Landwehr mixes in the grappling a little bit, but Lingo's shown 80% takedown defense in his own right, and he's only being out-controlled 18% to 15%, despite the fact that Austin has only attempted 3 takedowns, and Austin's opponents have attempted 35. So even if Landwehr wants to go to the grappling here, I think that Lingo's got what it takes to stop it. So very interesting fight here. I think that, what's the line on this one right now, Brady?
Nate Landwehr is the biggest favorite on the card. He is currently sitting at minus 275, opened up minus 300. Lingo opened up plus 250, and he's currently plus 235. I think a lot of that has to do with Onama had a ton of hype on him, and Landwehr took that hype right away from him.
Yeah, he did. But man, Austin Lingo is no joke either, dude. and Lingo's training at a really good camp there at Fortis, hometown kid. Man, it could be an interesting shot to take the dog shot on Lingo this week. That's a lot of plus money. I mean, I like both of these guys, and I think that the style of fight that's going to happen here is that both guys are going to get the fight that they want. I think it's going to be a striking battle, and I think it's going to be close. So maybe a dog shot on Austin Lingo might be a decent way to look at things this week.
Yeah, Landwehr's a guy you typically want to bet as a dog. Like, he was plus 285 against Onama. He was plus 300 against Ludovic Klein. He was plus 110 against Darren Elkins. So when he's winning in the UFC, it's been as a dog here.
Yeah,
that was a big favorite.
Man, what a fight! No wonder they put this one on the main card. I mean, like, and there's a lot of good choices, but Landwehr Lingo is going to be a banger.
No, it's a really good fight for sure. All right, a couple more fights left. We have 2 fights left. We have Holly Holm going against Yana Santos. We got Holly Holm, 41 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Yana Santos, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. We got Yana Santos is going to be younger by 8 years. Holly Holm with a 2-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Holly Holm is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision win against Megan Anderson, a knockout loss to Amanda Nunes, decision win against Raquel Pennington, decision win against Irene Aldana, and then a decision loss to Ketlin Vieira. As far as Yana Santos, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision win against Marion Renault, a knockout loss against Aspen Ladd, a decision win against Julia Stoliarenko, a decision win against Ketlin Vieira, and then a knockout loss against Irene Aldana. So I guess the thing that jumps right off the page is that age of Holly Holm. Now 41 years old, definitely a red flag here. And she looked like so good in the Irene Aldana fight, just put on like a masterclass performance against Aldana. And then she shows up against Ketlin Vieira in a fight where I still thought she won the fight, but you know, she did not look anywhere near as good as she did in that Aldana fight. It looked like she did decline a little bit, and that's kind of expected, you know, at over 40 years old here at this point for Holly Holm. So that's a big red flag for me. The red flag on the Santos fight is, you know, she just had a kid, I believe. I mean, after that Aldana knockout loss, she came out and said that she was pregnant. And then I believe she had a baby, if I'm not mistaken. Can you confirm that, Weezy, or am I thinking of something else?
I think she did. I think we were talking about Yana Santos being pregnant. You know, she just married Tiago Maheta Santos. They both trained at ATT together. So, yeah, but I maybe the chat apps knows, because I don't know for sure, but I could swear that I remember we heard she was pregnant and after the loss too, which is kind of strange. But yeah, and you look at the last 2 opponents, Ketlin Vieira and Irene Aldana. And for Santos, it's Aldana and Vieira. And they both performed about the same versus Vieira, right? Vieira, very close fight against Santos. Santos got the nod, but I kind of think Vieira won. And then Vieira beats Holm, but I thought that Vieira lost that fight and Holm won it. But the difference, you know, the MMA math difference here is the fact that Holm just destroyed Irene Aldana and Santos got smoked by her. So
I can confirm she did indeed have a baby.
Okay, so wow, man, I mean, like, this is 1-800-GAMBLER, because what really bothered me about the Holly Holm performance against Ketlin Vieira was that Holly fought that fight as if she believed that Ketlin was the better striker. Would you disagree with that?
No, I think Holly Holm should have been the much better striker.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like she felt that she had to push her up against the cage and win there, because and that really worries me, right? Because if Holly Holm at this point in her career feels that her best path to winning minutes is with the grappling, when she's a former boxing champion and has great kicks, I'd really rather see Holly Holm do what she did in the Irene Aldana fight, which is win minutes at distance. And then when you start winning those minutes, mix in the wrestling then, you know, and then it becomes even more effective when you wrestle and when you win minutes in the clinch. But she just didn't do that against Ketlin Vieira. And if Ketlin Vieira is out striking her, I mean, there's no way I can lay minus 230 on her against Yana Santos. So I don't know, man. That last performance against Holly Holm really did bother me. Santos is 8 years younger here. And she throws a lot of volume at range. She's throwing 15.4 significant strike attempts at range, while her opponents throw 12.66. And you see Holm is a lot lower volume there. Holm's throwing 10. Her opponents are throwing 8. So Holly throws more volume than her opponents, but you look at what they're landing. 168 minutes at distance for Holly Holm. She's only landing 3.7 distance strikes per minute, while Santos is landing 6.6. So, it's. I don't think I can get to Santos as the underdog here, but the thought of laying minus 240 on Holly Holm here, on a 41-year-old Holly Holm, who also looked like she might have lost faith in her striking. I don't know. I mean, maybe the Santos side would have to be the side, but I'm not in the habit of fighting or picking women that come off of pregnancies. I just recently bet on Miranda Granger against Corey McKenna, and that did not work out well for me, man.
Yep. Mushroom is asking how long ago. She had the baby less than a year ago, 322 days ago.
Yeah, that's really concerning, man. This is 1-800-GAMBLER. I just don't want to bet this fight. It probably goes to decision, but I'll bet that's juice to the tits too.
Yeah, minus 275 to that over. Holly Holm. I mean, this just makes me a little sick here. Minus 240 for Holly Holm, and then Santos plus 205. I won't be betting this fight.
Nope.
I'm at a loss for words. I don't even know what to say here. There's just so many red flags on both sides where I just want nothing to do with it. No interest for me. I don't know, man. I feel like Holly Holm should win this fight, but it looks like she lost a step in that Vera fight, and she's only getting older so that scares me even more.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, man. I really do think that I gotta pick. I guess I gotta pick Holly, but I don't see how you could bet on either of these ladies. Like you said, with all the red flags on both sides, this is such an easy stay away from me that I might not even watch this fight.
And Alan's asking, what's the win percentage on women that just had a baby? And there's been a couple examples you can think of, like Granger came back from pregnancy, lost the fight. Miesha Tate, I'm not sure. Did she come back and lose?
I think she came back and won, but I think it was against Marion Renault.
So that doesn't count. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Mackenzie Dern had a baby. She came back against Hebos and lost that fight, right?
Yup. And I think she missed weight by a mile and just kind of looked fat. And yeah, it's not good. I mean, it's definitely, a red flag for a professional fighter to be coming back off a pregnancy.
And it's also red flag laying minus 240 on a 41-year-old fighter in Holly Holm. So I don't know if I'm passing, dude. If you bet on this fight, I don't know. Get some help. Get some help if you're betting on this one. I don't know, man. It's rough. It should be a fun fight.
Stay away from it too. It's an easy stay away, and it's a good way to kind of like go and get yourself a sandwich. Maybe go and take a piss. Do whatever you got to do before the main event. Marlon Vera versus Cory Sandhagen for 5 rounds. What a way to finish off this card. What a way to finish off this 8-week stretch of UFC.
Yes. I mean, this is going to be a very, very fun main event. Cory Sandhagen, Marlon Vera. We got Sandhagen, 30 years old, 5'11" with a 70-inch reach. Vera, 30 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Sandhagen's going to have that 3-inch height advantage, but same age, same reach there. Marlon Vera, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss to Jose Aldo, a decision win against Davey Grant, a knockout win against Frankie Edgar, decision win against Rob Font, a knockout win against Dominic Cruz. As far as Cory Sandhagen, he has 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a knockout win against Marlon Moraes, a knockout win against Frankie Edgar, a decision loss to TJ Dillashaw, a decision loss to Petr Yan, and then a knockout win against Song Yadong. So, yeah, Cory Sandhagen, obviously a very good fighter, very long, rangy guy. I'm actually kind of shocked that these guys are going to have the same reach because Cory Sandhagen just fights so long. Lots of power, lots of tools on the feet, very good grappling as well. The takedown defense has always been an issue, but he's able to kind of work through that. I'm just Bootsy's liking the dog here potentially. I'm excited to see Marlon Vera in a 5-round fight. We've always said it. Marlon Vera loses pretty much every single first round. I mean, you can put Marlon Vera against, I don't know, Chris Moutinho, and he'll probably lose that first round, dude. Like, he loses first rounds like it's his job. But in that second round, he starts to put it together. And then in that third round, he is a different animal. Marlon Vera, third round is a different animal. And then recently, we've gotten to see the fourth and fifth round Marlon Vera, and it's insane. He went out there, knocked down Font multiple times, hurt him multiple times in the fourth and fifth round, and he went out there and finished Dominic Cruz by knockout, I believe, in the fourth round. So third round, Marlon Vera is an animal. Fourth and fifth round, Marlon Vera is like some mythical creature. So this fight's going to be so good, Weezy. I think early on, Cory Sandhagen's going to be the minute winner here for sure, just because Marlon Vera, it takes him a little bit. You know, it takes him getting hit in the face a couple times to wake up. But once Marlon Vera gets going, the guy's super dangerous, has a lot of power, and he's a very good fighter. So, yeah, should be a very fun fight here, Weezy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what a great main event. I mean, Marlon Vera never in boring fights. Cory Sandhagen never in boring fights. Both of these guys have got fantastic conditioning. Both of these guys have got heart for days and years and eons. So this is going to be a great main event. But, you know, what I want to highlight here from the stats are the distance striking numbers. The distance striking numbers are so much more predictive than the just regular significant strike numbers. So regular significant strike numbers, we see Marlon Vera landing 4.28, absorbing 5. Then we see Sandhagen landing 6.15, absorbing 4.21. But at distance, Marlon Vera lands 4.8 and he absorbs 6.1, a negative 1.3 distance striking differentials for all the time spent at distance. For Cory Sandhagen, it's positive 2.01. He's landing 7 and absorbing 5. And he throws 16.7 while his opponents throw 12. So Sandhagen is 3 inches taller. He throws more kicks. He throws a lot more volume than Vera, while Vera throws less volume than his opponents. And then he lands more per minute than Vera does, you know, because Vera's absorbing 1.3 more distance strikes while Sandhagen's landing two more per minute than he's absorbing. So I feel like Cory Sandhagen is going to have a very difficult time losing minutes here because he's going to use that length, because he's got fantastic conditioning and he doesn't get tired. Like, Cory Sandhagen is not going to slow down in the fourth and fifth rounds and allow Marlon to break him, because he's always there. And because we've seen that Cory Sandhagen is never going to quit. I think that this is such a great main event. And also, I think the strength of schedule numbers here are pretty, they're really looking good on the Sandhagen side. You see a 2.1 ratio in Sandhagen's overall competition, while you see a 1.38 for Vera. And then you look at the wins. And Cory Sandhagen's got a 1.73 ratio in his wins, while for Marlon Vera, it's 1.17. And Cory Sandhagen's facing competition that have 13.63 UFC fights on the aggregate, while Vera, it's 9.79. So I really like the wins for Cory Sandhagen, that he's gotten his career much better than Marlon Vera's. I really like the distance striking minute winning potential of Cory Sandhagen here. I think that Cory Sandhagen is not going to get finished by Marlon Vera, because even though Marlon Vera is such a savage finisher, Cory Sandhagen has only been finished once in his career, and it was by submission against Aljamain Sterling. Other than that, you know, he even had his arm bent the wrong way for like 30 seconds straight by Yuri Alcantara, never tapped, and then wound up getting on top and pounding Alcantara's head through the canvas with the arm that was just being bent completely the wrong way. This is such a great fight. But right now, because I can't count on Marlon Vera to wrestle, when we've seen Cory Sandhagen actually, you know, lose some minutes on the ground and have the ability to, you know, you can take this guy down. He's only got 64% takedown defense. But Marlon Vera doesn't wrestle, man. He's only got 26 takedown attempts in 20 fights. He gets those takedowns, and, you know, but he doesn't really win minutes on the ground. He gives up a lot more minutes on the ground than he wins. He's only winning 35% of his control time positions. Sandhagen wins about 45%. Yeah, I'm going Cory Sandhagen here, man. I think he's gonna be the better striker. I am worried about Marlon Vera's power, but Marlon Vera's got 11 knockdowns in 20 fights. So that's really the moment winning there. Is he going to be able to land a big shot? Is he going to be able to drop Cory Sandhagen? Because that's where he gets the majority of his ground control from. Not from the takedowns. It's from the knockdowns. I mean, let's face it. The guy's got as many knockdowns as he has takedowns. 11 takedowns at the UFC level for Marlon Vera, 11 knockdowns. So it's going to be a fun fight, but it's not like Cory Sandhagen doesn't have power. He's landing 4 knockdowns in 11 fights. So he's doing a good job there as well. But I'm liking the defense of Sandhagen. I'm liking the output of Sandhagen, and I'm liking the accuracy and the defensive prowess. So I think that Sandhagen wins the minutes here, and I'm picking Cory Sandhagen to win this fight by decision.
Yeah, this is one of those fights where I think I'm just going to sit back and watch it with no action on it. Harley's asking about the finish only prop, and typically I'd always bet that in a Marlon Vera fight, and maybe I will here depending on the line. But Cory Sandhagen's another guy that has just a ridiculous chin. Like, Sandhagen's been knocked down, I think, once, right?
Yes, it's only one time. Yeah.
And Marlon Vera has never been knocked down. Sandhagen got knocked down by Petr Yan. So, yeah, we'll see what that finish only prop is. But, yeah, Sandhagen's a tough dude in his own right. So, I don't know. Maybe I'd be looking at, like, overs in this matchup just because both guys are just next level tough, especially Marlon Vera. But, they're on it. Minus 155 to the over 4.5, which, that would be a sweat. But, yeah, I think this fight probably does go to decision. And I think it could be close just because Sandhagen's going to have the minute winning ability. And then Marlon Vera is going to have some big moments, you got to imagine, especially down the stretch. So I think it'll be close. I'm actually leaning probably the dog in Vera. I'm not sure I'm going to get there. But yeah, Sandhagen is the favorite. He opened up minus 163, currently minus 170. Marlon Vera opened up plus 143, currently plus 145. Maybe like a Sandhagen decision only could be something to look at as well, because Marlon Vera is just not the best minute winner. He's a moment winner, and he's been winning a lot of moments lately, but I don't know, against Sandhagen, it could be a lot tougher winning those moments than, say, against like a Rob Font, a Dominic Cruz, a Frankie Edgar, guys like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Sandhagen is 2-2 in decisions in the UFC, but he could be 4-0. He might have won that Dillashaw fight. He might have won that Petr Yan fight. That was I had 4.5 units on Petr Yan at minus 225. Boy, man, my butthole was puckered after that 5th round there, Brady. I did not know if I was going to come out the other end and get that win. And yeah, if Cory Sandhagen can stand at range with Petr Yan and win minutes against that killer, I think he can win minutes against Marlon Vera as well. So it's going to be a very interesting main event. What a great way to finish off this 8 straight week stretch of UFC action.
Yeah, absolutely. Great card. Great card, really, from almost from top to bottom. There's a couple, like, I'm not looking forward to the Vidal fight, but other than that, every single fight on this card I'm really looking forward to. I think we're going to get a lot of violence. Should be a very fun card. But yeah, Weezy, we went through all 13 fights. All that's left is letting people know where they can find you and what you have plans for this week for some content to finish off this 8-week stretch. That's been an absolute grind. It's been rough for me. Like, I've been in the process of moving and then researching 15 fights. I've had to drive back to my old house with internet just to research some of these fights. But luckily I'm all set up now and looking forward to finishing up this 8-week stretch, taking the week off, and then come back to another 7-week stretch. So yeah, we're definitely been on the grind, and we have to continue that grind throughout the year. But yeah, it's all worth it.
This is what we signed up for, Brady, but 15 out of 16 weeks of UFC action is tough on us content creators. Ooh. But I'm going to really be looking forward to this week off, trying to recharge the batteries here. I'm going through some shit in my personal life as well, and it'd be nice to have this week off here and get back to the UFC action that we got 7 more weeks straight coming up. But great main event, great card from top to bottom. And I can't wait to stack cash tickets like flapjacks on this one. But you can find me tomorrow on the MMA Engine YouTube channel with Brady doing probability. We'll give you a data-driven look at all the time props on this card. And I have a feeling we'll be looking at a lot of unders tomorrow. And then on Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time, I'll be going live for Just the Tip with Uncle Weezy. Give you a look at all 13 fights on this card. Give you my track bets. Finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And then we'll see what's up on Wednesday. There's definitely some family stuff going on for me right now. So I don't know if I'll be able to do all the content that I normally do this week, but stat diggers, probability, just the tip. That's what we're looking at this week.
Yes, sir. And you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I'll get out a main event breakdown tomorrow, and then I'll be getting out my full card breakdown hopefully on Tuesday. And then, live streams Friday, Saturday on DFS by the numbers here on Pub Sports Radio, Wednesday for the DFS show. Can't wait for that. And then, like Weezy said, tomorrow for some probability. And we're going to have a lot to talk about, a lot of unders to talk about as well, which are my favorite cards for sure. All right. Thank you all for hanging out. We had a good crowd tonight. We had some donos. Do want to go back? Tajik, Alan. We had the Carrillo, F. Carrillo in there as well. Thank you all for the donos. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. And best of luck for UFC San Antonio. And enjoy the fight. Should be a very fun card to end this 8-week stretch. See you.